Welcome on into my March Madness bracket is busted support group, aka the Cleveland Browns report. Although, even though no one cares about my bracket, it's actually doing very well. No big deal. But on today's show, I want to run through some trade candidates for the Browns as we're kind of in that lull between the peak of free agency and the draft really starting to pick up some hype and momentum. Because when you look at the Browns' 2024 draft picks, they're down to 5 after shipping off a 5th and a 6th for Jerry Jeudy. So the Browns may be looking to reacquire some draft capital, and the easiest way to do that is by either trading back or trading a player away. And in fact, when you look at the NFL draft capital rankings, this is a list of all the teams' draft picks, and they assign a number value to each pick. And well, the Browns finished dead last, and it's not even close, right? 371 draft points, I guess we'll call it, as a unit of measurement. And the second lowest are the Dolphins, and they have 548. So Andrew Berry may be looking at that and thinking, all right, maybe I should try and get some picks back. Maybe, maybe not. But if he does decide to go down that road, here are 4 names that could be shipped off. So let's start with the biggest return, which would be Greg Newsome, the former first-round pick out of Northwestern. So let's discuss whether or not Newsome could get dealt, and if he does, what could the Browns get for him? Now, there has been some low-level chatter for about 2 straight off seasons now, but maybe a little bit more this year than last year, that Greg Newsome could get traded. It all kind of started at the Combine, and I didn't really give a whole lot of weight to it, but every single year we kind of see a surprise trade or two go down, right? Who saw the Tyreek Hill trade coming, for example? So this does happen in the NFL from time to time. For me, it's really simple. Negotiations begin in a second-round pick. Is Greg Newsome worth or going to get you a second-rounder? Unlikely, but that's kind of the whole point. I'm not interested in trading Greg Newsome. So if I am going to trade Greg Newsome, you're going to have to really twist my arm and give me an offer I can't refuse. And even though I think trading Greg Newsome would be dumb for this team, I do think getting a second-round back may be something that is worth it because you can reset the clock a little bit as his 5th-year option decision is coming up by May 2nd, and you may even be able to find a better player altogether. But for me, when I look at Cleveland's cornerback room, you've got a guy in Denzel Ward who has never played a full season. You've got a lockdown player in Martin Emerson who is likely going to get an extension when that day comes. And then there's Greg Newsome, who's kind of the odd man out, and we all sort of know that he's the redheaded stepchild when it comes to if the Browns were to trade a corner, which one would it be? It would be Newsome. Now, unless the Browns have major character concerns with the way Newsome kind of handled himself speaking to the media after the Texans' playoff loss, or the fact that Perion Winfrey was released from the team, and who was he hanging out with the night that they got mugged at gunpoint? Not gunpoint, I'm not really sure what the deals or the details were. It was Winfrey and Greg Newsome. So unless there are some major character concerns, which I don't believe that's the case, the guy holds a charity softball event every single summer. That does not scream to me bad locker room influence. Get that toxic guy out of this town. No, he's really embraced the city of Cleveland, and he wants to be a Brown for a long term. So I don't really read much into that. But unless the Browns feel like there are some concerns there with his player or overall character, I don't think it's a good idea to trade Greg Newsome. Now, I'll toss it your way. Would you trade Newsome for a 3rd, right? If you can get a 2nd for him, I think the Browns would be very much open to negotiations. But what about a lesser pick, a 3rd-round pick? For me, I'll maintain what I've been saying for a while now. 3 big reasons I want to keep Greg Newsome. Reason number 1 is he's a good player. I don't think it's smart to trade good players. Is he a great player? Probably not. Is he a starting cornerback in this league? Yes. Yes, he is. Reason number 2, you're in win-now mode. 2024 is a boomer-bust season for the Browns. Trading away a good player just doesn't seem like you're going to make your roster any better for 2024, even if you are able to find another cheaper player at a similar level and kind of reset the clock and not have to pay Greg Newsome as much as quickly. And then reason number 3 is you don't trade good players at marquee positions like cornerback when you are in a win-now mode. It doesn't seem like trading Greg Newsome makes this football team any better in 2024. So for that reason, Sharks, I'm out. Second trade candidate, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. We talked about him a few days ago here on the channel, But I do think this is a potential trade candidate for the Browns, given the fact that, there's 4 quarterbacks in the room. Now, they are very open, and a lot of teams do carry 4 quarterbacks, and people have been very quick to point that out in the comment section. I will say there's a little bit of a difference than having, the 4th quarterback be Kellen Mond or Jeff Driscoll or Josh Rosen than Tyler Huntley. Tyler Huntley seems more of a longer-term investment, even if it's just for a season, than getting an extra arm just to run some drills in minicamp, like a Kellen Mond, right? I think we should separate the two going, well, they had 4 last year. Yeah, the 4th really stood no chance. I think Tyler Huntley's got a good chance of making this roster. So for me, I think you might see a similar trade go down like we saw with Josh Dobbs last year with DTR. I don't think any team is going to have big interest in trading for him right now. He played some games last year. He showed some good things. He showed some not good, so good things. If I were looking at Dorian Thompson-Robinson, I would let the draft go by, see if you can find a quarterback that you like in the draft, or if you can't, wait till the preseason. Get some preseason tape on Dorian Thompson-Robinson for the first 2 or 3 weeks, and if he looks good in those 2 or 3 weeks, then maybe you pull the trigger on a trade, just like the Cardinals did for Josh Dobbs last season. So I would be surprised if we saw DTR get traded before the first day of training camp. All right, we have 2 more trade candidates to look at, but really, really quickly, I just want to plug one more time. Our Browns USA themed t-shirts are still available thanks to our friends at Fanatics. When you go to chatsports.com/BrownsUSA, warmer weather is here for some and going to be here for some. Going to be here for all in just a little bit. So if you are looking to rep your favorite squad while also supporting the red, white, and blue in the greatest country in the world, get your Browns USA themed t-shirt today. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. Numbers 3 and 4 I want to lump together. 2 offensive tackles, Jedrick Wills and Jack Conklin. So we'll break down one by one here, but these are 2 players that if they got to be traded, would anyone be absolutely flabbergasted? Probably not, right? I think there is a world where one of these 2 guys could get dealt, but I think it's a lot less likely for one compared to the other. Now, the big question is, who are your starting 2 offensive tackles? Is it Jed Wills and Conklin and Jones, or is it Jed Wills and Jones, right? Which of those 3 guys ends up sitting on the bench week 1? Now, let's start by talking about Jed Wills, because he has been a bit of a disappointment as a first-round pick, right? I think everyone's in agreement that the expectations for number 10 overall are a little bit higher. Has he been an absolute bust of a pick? No, I don't think so. I think Jedrick Wills is a starting offensive tackle in this league. He's not going to be maybe a cornerstone piece that holds down the left side of your offensive line for a decade plus like Joe Thomas did, but he's not a player that you need to get off the field ASAP. Now, what I do want to share is, while he didn't have a great year last season, according to PFF in some metrics, I did pull up his week-by-week grades, and I think it's just best to share a screenshot so you guys can see how, at the beginning of the season, we're seeing a lot of red and orange. And those aren't good grades, right? 44, 50, 50. And then you can see that 47.6. That is the final game before the bye, right? That's the Ravens game. The Browns lose. They fall to 2-2 on the year, and they get a week off before the 49ers come to town. And look what Jed Wills did after the bye. A dramatic increase up until he got injured against the Cardinals. And that 4-week stretch right there, guys, that got the Browns a bit of a half chub. The Browns and Berea, the overall, people in charge, they are a lot higher on Jed Wills than you probably are. A good chunk of the fan base, not necessarily the majority, but more than just a few people in the Muni lot, are not very high on Jedrick Wills. I would say that you guys are in a very different camp than where Andrew Berry is, right? Andrew Berry restructured Jed Wills' contract just like how he did Jerry Jeudy's contract. And then he gave Jerry Jeudy an extension because he slapped all those void years on there, and he figured, well, if we're going to be paying you in those years, we might as well have you on our team, right? That's not the complete reasoning behind it, but that's a good, first step to it. He did the same thing with Jed Wills. I would not be blown away if they were to extend him. Maybe they let him play out his 5th-year option, but I do think the Browns see more long-term in Jed Wills than your average fan might. All right, the other trade candidate that we talked about, Jack Conklin, he's sort of the odd man out simply because we haven't seen him play a lot all that recently. And that's been a big-time bummer because his first season in Cleveland was an all-pro season. Like, Jack Conklin is one of the best tackles in football when healthy. He just hasn't been available for the last 2 to 3 seasons. So I think all 3 tackles, Jack Conklin, Jedrick Wills, and DeJuan Jones, are at training camp to begin the season because this is an awesome problem to have. There are a lot of teams in the National Football League with much bigger problems that are much more difficult to solve. One of the Browns' biggest problems is we have too many good tackles. They would be a lot. Lots of teams would kill to have 3 starting tackles. So my suspicion is they'll take all 3 guys into training camp. If someone gets injured, well, you've got a great backup plan in place already. And if no one gets injured, I think you're going to see Jed Wills and Jack Conklin go back to being your starting left and right tackle. And DeJuan Jones can step off the bench if needed. There's a good shot that Conklin may need some breathers as he comes back from yet another lower leg injury. So maybe we see DeJuan Jones come in on like first or second down or something like that, and Conklin takes over on third down. Whatever it may be, I think the Browns are going to hold on to all three of these guys going into camp. If another team loses their starting tackle and they want to overpay the Browns for Jack Conklin, then that could be an avenue for him getting dealt. But I don't think you're going to see Wills or Jones definitely go anywhere. It may be Conklin that gets moved. Okay, let's bring in producer Coop.
Let's go.
You're very excited.
Yes, I am. I'm going to go with 7 of Heart.
Yeah, producer Coop, is always itching to be a part of Pick a Card mode, and lucky for him, he was able to do so today. You going 7 of Hearts?
7 of Hearts.
7 of Hearts. I'm going to go with the 5 of Diamonds.
Okay.
No, 2 of Spades. Audible, 2 of Spades.
Final answer?
Final answer. I was thinking this number. This number is so popular this offseason. 4 of Hearts. 4 of Hearts.
4 is by far the most popular number.
It's been an absolute runaway. It's the 1 seed, if you will. All right. Well, we'll let you guys get back to watching the madness. I appreciate everyone for tuning in. And, hey, if you're still watching, scroll on down. Type a CLE in the comment section. You guys know I'm a slut to find out who the end of the video crew is.